Welcome back, my stylistas. Once again, Zara here, Gail's AI virtual assistant for another fabulous style session here on SDS. Somewhere right now, someone is standing in a furniture showroom, pointing at a $4,000 Italian leather sofa and calling it a couch. So what is correct, sofa, couch or davenport? Well, the word couch arrived from the French coucher, meaning to lie down, which tells you everything about its original intention. The couch was essentially a glorified horizontal surface, something you collapsed onto after a long day of whatever people did in medieval France. That very first couch was actually a chaise. It was casual by design. Temporary, uncommitted. The furniture equivalent of, "I'll figure it out later." The French chaise longue, meaning long chair, originated in 16th century France, where it became a symbol of aristocratic luxury, inspiring the court to take a load off. The word sofa comes from the Arabic siffa, meaning a wooden bench covered with cushions and blankets, but of course it is nothing like lounging on anything close to today's sofas or sofas with a chaise extend. Then there's the word davenport. This definition is genuinely different. It's a regional American term, largely a Midwest colloquialism for the exact same object as a sofa/couch. It doesn't refer to a distinct furniture style, it's a naming quirk. The term reportedly traces back to a furniture manufacturer, A.H. Davenport and Company, whose sofas were widely sold in the late 1800s/early 1900s, and the brand name eventually became a generic name for a sofa, the same way Kleenex became shorthand for tissue. You'll mostly hear Davenport from older generations or those in specific US regions, such as the Midwest or Central area, rather than as an active design industry term today. The person who says couch almost always has a different spatial relationship than the person who says sofa. The couch person tends to think of their living room as a functional zone, a place where things happen to them. Netflix, takeout, scrolling. A very passive zone. The sofa person tends to think of their living room as an environment they are actively constructing. A place that says something. A place that has been decided rather than simply furnished and occupied. Now before you spiral, this is not about vocabulary policing. You can call it whatever you want in your own space at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday. But there is a reason every interior designer, every shelter magazine, every trade showroom, uses the word sofa, without exception. It is not snobbery, though design has certainly weaponized snobbery enthusiastically across many decades, with precision. A sofa has a profile. It has a silhouette. It has a relationship to the other objects in the room. It has scale, proportion, and what would be described as a point of view. You select a sofa the way you select anything that represents you. Carefully and intentionally. With some awareness of what you are actually trying to say. A couch is what you buy when you need somewhere to plop down. A needed functional multipurpose zone. Now that we broke down the specific differences between a sofa and a couch, let's make a hard left to those sectionals with cup holders. You know the ones. That colossal microfiber collection that could wrap itself around 3 walls of a living space, complete with built-in recliners, USB ports, and enough storage compartments to survive a minor apocalypse. Nobody calls that a sofa. Nobody, not even the people who own them, call it a sofa. And that is not coincidence. That is complete awareness of purposely selecting a piece of furniture to linger, versus preferring a certain style direction. The cup holder sectional is the physical manifestation of comfort chosen over intention, one of convenience defeating composition. It is furniture that has consumed the room, and is simply asking the room to accommodate. Versus a sofa asks nothing of the room, because it's the starting point, as it gives the room the essence of the space, the anchor, and the basis or reason for the style direction. Now let's go back and continue the conversation about the chaise, a direct, non-negotiable conversation. First, it's pronounced chaise. It's one syllable, and as SDS has already shared its French origin. With its elegant bit etymology and long design history, that has graced the rooms of everyone from French aristocracy to mid-century modernists, who understood that the reclining human form deserved something more architecturally dignified than a footrest. So, to be clear, it is not a chase. A chase is what happens when someone runs after something. A chase is a pursuit. A chase is what occurs when you are late for something, or fleeing something, or starring in an action sequence. A chase has urgency, velocity, and zero upholstery. A chaise has none of those things. A chaise has languor. Intentional, considered, horizontal languor. It exists specifically so that a person may recline with some degree of architectural self-awareness, rather than simply leaning sideways on a sofa and hoping for the best. When you walk into a showroom and ask for one of those chase things at the end, the designer in the room has already diagnosed 3 things about your relationship to your space. First, you're not sure what you want. You're not really sure what the needed item is actually called. And most importantly, why you even need to make this $3,000 to $4,000 decision to begin with. Because here is what the chaise represents when used correctly: intention. It is the sofa saying, I am not finished yet. It completes a composition, rather than simply filling space. It gives a room a sense of thought and comfort at the same time. It's that perfect balance of relaxed atmosphere and style thought carried all the way to the edge of the furniture plan, rather than stopping where the budget ran out or the decision fatigue set in. Calling it a chaise does not just mispronounce the object, it misses the entire point of it. Style Drop Sessions exists for one reason: to help others understand that our space is not a collection of objects. It should be a collection of style directions and decisions, from the largest architectural gesture to the smallest word you use to describe your furniture. Your space tells a story about how you see yourself. The person learning when to use the sofa or couch is learning design vocabulary. They are practicing their intentions. The person ready to say chaise correctly is not being pretentious. They are respecting the object enough to call it what it actually is. And that shift, small as it sounds, tends to be the beginning of a much larger one. Because once you start speaking about your space with precision, you start seeing it with purpose. And once you see it clearly, you cannot unsee it. The room that has been chosen looks completely different from the room that has simply accumulated. Accumulated is not decorating. That's just filling a space with throw pillows. The practical takeaway here is to say sofa and to say chaise. Not because it makes you sound sophisticated, though it does, but because that precise language carries an expectation of intention that imprecise language simply does not. Every time you use the correct word, you are training yourself to think about your space more deliberately. And deliberate spaces reflect style and look entirely different from accidental placed objects around a TV. Your space is already talking, and the only question is whether you are fluent enough to hear what it is saying. So start with the vocabulary, as the rest will follow, especially now that those very needed design pronunciation of terms have been established. SDS looks forward to you stopping by again, and thank you for your likes, hypes, and especially for being a subscriber, because we're just getting started here with this new era of home styling. Until next time, my stylistas, ciao bella.